Welcome to my channel. I'm Gary Wiryawan, and today we're going to talk about 4 budget lenses for your Micro Four Thirds camera. So, as some of you guys might already know, I'm a heavy Micro Four Thirds camera system user. I use Micro Four Thirds a lot for both everyday photography and travel photography as well, and I've been really enjoying my Micro Four Thirds camera system. However, as some of us might already know, some of the newer Micro Four Thirds lenses are now geared more toward professional uses, and they're usually bigger and more expensive. And it's easy to forget that there are smaller budget lenses that can work as well, that will give you about 95% of the whole shooting experience, that's not as expensive. And in today's video, I just want to explore all of these budget lenses that can be your option when you're just starting out, or if you are tired with your big heavy pro lenses. I will share 4 of my favorite budget lenses. There are actually more than 4, but this is just my own personal list. Feel free to add more lenses, budget lenses, down below in the comment. Please share. And also, the reason why I chose these lenses is because I use them a lot in my everyday photography, in my travel photography. You can check out the vlogs where I'm doing my everyday photography right here, and they all feature some of the lenses mentioned in this video. Without further ado, now let's start with the lenses themselves. First lens is definitely the kit lens that comes with my Panasonic GX85, and that is the 12 to 32mm Lumix kit lens. Or if you are using Olympus camera, you might have the 14 to 42mm version of this lens. That's also a good starting lens. Now, there are many reasons why I love the Panasonic 12 to 32mm kit lens. But definitely the biggest reason is its focal length. It's just very flexible. 12mm is plenty wide, and 32mm is already a little bit zoomed in telephoto focal length. So you can use this for any kinds of photography genres, for landscape, for scenery, for portrait, for street photography, for product photography, for anything else. You can just use this one single lens with no problem. The second reason why I love this lens is because of its image quality. All of the pictures taken using this lens, in my experience, has been really sharp, really contrasty. It's just really pleasant to look at, and many people think that a kit lens will produce subpar image quality, but that's not the case with the 12 to 32mm kit lens. And also the lens itself, besides being very budget friendly, it's also small, it's also lightweight, very compact. Look at this, this is almost like a pancake lens, so it's very easy to carry around, especially when you are traveling. There are some drawbacks when it comes to this lens. First, the aperture is only f3.5 to f5.6. It's not really that impressive, but again, this is just a small, portable, compact kit lens, so it doesn't really require big aperture, and probably if you're adding a large aperture to this lens, it will turn into a big lens that's expensive as well. And the second negative point about this lens is the fact that it's a little bit prone to flare and ghosting, especially when you're shooting into a bright light source like the sun. But anyway, yeah, that's the Panasonic 12 to 32mm kit lens. I think everyone should have this lens, or the Olympus version of this kit lens, which is the 14 to 42mm electronic zoom kit lens. Next favorite budget lens is my favorite lens of 2023, and that would be the Panasonic 35 to 100mm f4 to f5.6. The reason why I love this lens so much is that this lens opens up the possibility of bringing a telephoto lens that is not bulky, that is not heavy like this guy right here, and you can just carry it easily, especially when you travel, and still be able to get a great result. I just want to emphasize how small this lens is. It's just very small. Look at the kit lens right here, the 12 to 32. It's that big right here. It's a pancake lens. This guy is not really that far from the 12 to 32. It's not a pancake lens, but it shares almost the same diameter, and that makes it really nice nice for travel photography. Image quality, don't get me wrong, this is not an expensive lens, but it can produce a really expensive result. I took some of my keeper shots using this lens this year. Some of my most precious favorite shots ever are taken using this lens, and yeah, this is just such a wonderful lens, and I think everyone that is looking for a small, compact, lightweight telephoto lens that won't break the bank should consider this lens as a good choice. Some good alternatives to the Panasonic 35 to 100mm lens right here are the Panasonic 45 to 150mm f4 to f5.6 and the Olympus 40 to 150mm f4 to f5.6. I've used the Panasonic 45 to 150 lens that I mentioned in the past, and I got some great result with it. It's also compact, it's also not heavy, it produces great result, and it's just a really nice telephoto lens overall. However, if you can, I will still recommend you this lens instead of that lens, just because of the compactness, how small is this lens, and I think you will appreciate it, especially when you travel a lot or just for every day. You won't feel the weight and the size of the lens inside your bag. Next favorite budget lens is not really just a single lens, but it's actually a category of a lens that I would call general use prime lens, and my choice for that particular category is the Panasonic 20mm f1.7 prime lens right here. But basically you can choose anything from a wide angle prime lens all the way to telephoto prime lens. You can choose from the Panasonic 14mm f2.5, Olympus 17mm f2.8, or the Panasonic and Olympus version of their 25mm prime lens, or the Panasonic and Olympus version of the 45mm or 42.5mm prime lens. The whole point of this category is to give you the ability to blur the background even more with the large aperture of these prime lenses, and also more low light capabilities to cover your kit lens like the 12 to 32 or the 35 to 100. My personal choice again is the Panasonic Lumix 20mm f1.7 because it is a small pancake lens with a really decent focal length. 20mm is wide but not too wide, it's tight but not too tight, so I can use it for both scenery and portrait, environmental portrait, street photography, product and food photography because of the flexible focal length. Again, with the large f1.7 aperture, I'm able to blur the background as long as I am close to the subject, and I can also just step back a little bit and get a wider shot if needed, and the f1.7 aperture will give me that low light capability if I'm doing night photography or that kind of thing. If you need more background blur capability because you're doing more portrait, go with the tighter focal length like the Olympus 45mm f1.8 or the Panasonic 42.5mm f1.7. You'll get that background blur, the lens will still be very affordable, and it will have large enough aperture to also work in lower light condition. If you're doing scenery more often, you're doing wide angle street photography, then I think go with the Olympus 17mm f2.8 or the Panasonic 14mm f2.5. Last but not least, my personal favorite budget lens for ultra-wide angle photography is the Laowa 7.5mm f2, this little guy right here. So I didn't include this lens on the previous prime lens category because this is such a specialized lens. This is an ultra-wide angle lens, so it's perfect for landscape photography, but you cannot really use it for, like, you know, telephoto portrait or food photography or that kind of stuff. It's just limited to scenery, environmental portrait, and landscape photography. So yeah, a separate lens from the list. But nevertheless, this is a really great lens if you need an ultra wide angle focal length with large aperture, which is very rare in the world of micro four thirds, and this is one of the solution right there. The f2 aperture will let you in a lot of light, especially in lower light situations. So you can do like nighttime landscape photography, Milky Way photography, maybe aurora or northern light, southern light, whatever that is. You can use this lens to capture that kind of image as well. I use this in Iceland to get a little bit of northern light, and it worked perfectly for that. And yeah, overall, if you need a small and reliable landscape lens that is not really that expensive, then this guy could be a great alternative. The image quality taken with this lens is just fantastic, really sharp, really contrasty. I really love the images taken using this lens right here. However, there are two problems when it comes to this lens, and first problem is that it's very prone to flare and ghosting, especially if you are shooting directly into the sun or a very bright light source. And the second problem is manual focus. Well, the good news is with manual focus, it's not really that difficult. If the focal length is very wide like this lens, you can just set it to hyperfocal distance, mark it on your lens with a razor or something like that, and then you can just fix that focus point right there all the time, and you'll be guaranteed to get great sharp result every time. And in regards to the flare and the ghosting, you just have to be very careful when you're shooting into a very bright light source. Use the lens hood that comes with this lens, or just change the angle a little bit so that you don't get flare in your image. Anyway, that's all of the list from my personal favorite budget lenses for micro four thirds. I use them very frequently, as I mentioned on the intro of this video. I feature them a lot on the vlogs, and they are what I call my everyday photography lenses. They are my basic setup that I carry whenever I'm going out and I want to try to have a little bit of photography time. You can check out a more detailed video about my everyday photography setup right here. I think you will learn a lot about how I choose the lenses that I need for everyday photography, and also to learn more about these individual lenses and why I choose them for everyday photography. But anyway, that wraps up today's video. So that is all for today's video. I hope that this list of my personal favorite budget lens can help you to decide which lens that is more useful for you, and you'll be able to build your own budget everyday kind of kit using the lenses that I mentioned. And yeah, please comment down below what are your favorite budget lenses for micro four thirds or any other camera format if you're not using micro four thirds. Also, if you have any question about today's video, please comment down below as well, and I will try my best to answer them. Also, don't forget to support my channel by liking this video, sharing this video, and subscribing to my channel down below. And if you want to support this channel even further, you can use the affiliate links on the description below, and also use the super thanks button. I will be really grateful if you do that, because that will help me to build this channel even better in the future. Thank you, and see you on the next video. Goodbye.